Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. To make my bird bath, I'm going to be using a PVC pipe, and this one is a 15 centimeter diameter pipe, and I'm going to be using an old towel and some bird mesh. I'm going to be cutting the hard edge off, and then I'm going to fold it to make a square. I've folded it over like that so that I can get a square, and now I'm going to be cutting that out, so I've just got the little square to work with. I've got the square and I'm just folding it in half and then half again, just so that I can find the middle point. And then I'm going to be cutting a small section out here, which is going to be the size of my PVC pipe. It doesn't have to be exact, just an about size. I've cut this small piece out like that. So now this piece has got a hole in the middle so it can go over the pipe. I've got 1 meter of bird mesh, and all I've done is I've turned it and made it into a circle. And the way I'm attaching it is by just taking the straggly pieces that are on the end and just threading them through the other side, and then just bending them over like that so that it attaches quite nicely, and just close the whole circle like that. I know this is very difficult to see, but I've made my circle and closed it all in, and now I'm going to be collapsing it so that I can try and get 4 even portions. So just folding it in half and then squashing the sides down so that they're flat. So I've got my piece like that, and now I'm opening it out again, and I'm going to be folding it flat in the opposite direction. So now I've got a square. Sorry, I know this is very difficult to see, but I've folded the 2 pieces that are on the side here, and I've just centered it so there's like a little flower kind of piece in the middle so that the pipe can go through there like this. So it's sitting in the center there, and then I can collapse the top parts around the pipe because obviously the base is a lot larger. What I'm doing is I'm just folding the top wire and making like pleats in it, so that I'm just doing small pieces together to collapse the top part in to make the circle for the big pipe. So I've got the skirt on the pipe like that, so it's the same all the way around. And now I'm going to be taking my towel. I've saturated my towel and wrung it dry, and now I've mixed up a very, very liquid consistency of cement, and we're going to put the towel into the cement. Make sure that you get everything covered completely. I used liquid nails to glue my piece of cardboard on, and now we're going to put the towel over that. I've put a plastic bag down so that it doesn't mess everywhere, so we'll just put the towel on now. So I'm taking the corners of the towel and I'm putting them in the center of each piece. And then I'm shaping by pushing the piece along there, and I'm trying to make a petal or a flower leaf by just moving those pieces together, like gathering them, and then just shaping this to look like a flower or a petal. I'm doing that on all 4 sides. For the stand, I'm taking the pool noodles and I'm cutting them in half and then half again, so I'm going to get quarters, and then I'm going to be cutting them at 27 centimeters each, so they'll line up like that. And so that they lie flat on the pole, I'm going to be cutting them from point to point, just like that. To cut the piece so that I'm just cutting the tip off, I'm just holding the knife, and it's pretty much like filleting, and I'm just going along the line and make sure I'm catching both sides together. So your piece will look like that. Just like a little half moon. I found this in the garden, which is a very, very old plastic pot plant holder, and all I'm doing now is I've taken my compass and I've marked the size of the pipe, and now I'm going to take my soldering iron and just cut the circle out in the middle. Please wear a mask when you're using the soldering iron to cut that out. The diameter of this particular one is 26 centimeters. I've got the circle cut out, and now it's ready to go onto the pole. I'm using a pool noodle, and I'm cutting it at 55 centimeters. And then I'm just going to be cutting it straight down the middle. I've cut it down the middle now, and now I'm going to just be cutting it down the middle once again, so I'm cutting them into quarters. When you're working with pool noodles, make sure that the pool noodle is not going to actually be going into the water, because they're very, very buoyant. So I'm going to be taking my pool noodle and I'm going to be putting it at the top of my pipe here. But because it's open, or it's not quite lying flat, I'm going to be cutting this part flat. My cement is dry now, so now I'm going to be working on the bottom. So the pieces that we cut out with the flat edge and the smaller piece, I'm going to be gluing those ones on to the pole. And then I'm going to be using the next lot of pieces, which I'm going to be gluing onto the pole, but I'm actually going to first start by just placing them all and taping them on so that I can space them correctly. I've cut my foams at 45-degree angles so that when I join them together, they join quite nicely, like that. And I'm taking a toothpick and just stabbing it into the side so that I join that properly, and I just break the side. I've glued it, and I've just put a piece of masking tape on just to keep it together. And then I've just slid the two rings over the pipe, so they're sitting like that now. I've put a zip tie around the foam and the column just so that I can get my pieces, so that I can try and get them evenly spaced. So I'm going to be using these larger of the skewers as my separators, and I've gone all the way around. And now the skewers I'm actually going to be gluing down with hot glue, but for the foam I'm going to be using this bathroom and kitchen silicone, because the hot glue does tend to melt these little foams. So I've got a high temperature one, so maybe a low temp would be better. I've got all my skewer spaces in place, and now I can start working on putting all the foam pieces in. And as I said, I'm going to be gluing these in with silicone. I find it works a bit better on the piping, plus it doesn't melt the foam. All the pieces are set, and I've removed the zip ties and all the tape that I had holding it all together while the silicone dried. And now I'm taking the same piping again. I'm going to be making the exact same ring that I made at the bottom for the top, and the small piece that I've cut off I'm going to be placing onto the plastic pot plant holder just around the rim. I've glued all the pieces together now, and now it's ready for the cement. I'm using general purpose cement, and I've made it into a very, very creamy consistency like that. And all I'm doing is taking it, I'm going to be applying it all over like that. and then just do the whole thing like that. I've covered the whole thing with the first coat, and now just wait for that to dry before I do the second coat. This one is a little bit rough, but that's just the first coat. The second coat will smooth out a little bit more and get more definition to it. I've got my first coat of ivory cement on, and now wait for that to dry, and then I'll put a third and final cover of cement on there. The nice thing about this ivory cement is, I don't know if you can see, it's sort of like green when you put it on, and when it dries it goes white, so then you know it's dry. As you can see, it's turned white, so now it's ready for its third coat. And now I'm going to flip it upside down so that I can do the inside to cover all the wires. I've made the cement so that it's quite a nice thin pliable consistency like that, and all I'm doing is squashing it on like that, and then cover the whole thing just like that. I found this really old broken plant vase in the garden, which I'm going to be fixing to use on top of my little bird bath, so it'll go on like that. To repair all the holes on the side, I'm going to be using this plaster cloth wrap, and I'm just going to be taking some and closing all the holes with it. The best way to use this is to cut the piece that you need and then soak it in warm water. It seems to activate it a lot better. I've cleaned up my little piece a little bit, and I've cut my strips of plaster bandage, and now I'm just going to soak it in some warm water and then apply it to where I need it. And then I'll wait for that piece to dry before I do the other side. The piece is all dry now, and now I'm taking the second one, and I've cut it quite a lot longer, and I'm going to be placing it all the way around here, and then gluing it down. So once again into the warm water. And then just pat it all down. I'm taking the half noodle and cutting it in half again, so I've got a quarter, and this piece I'm going to be gluing around the base like that. For this one, I'm not cutting, I'm leaving it completely like that so that I can glue the flat surface, so it's got a nice surface like that all the way around. Then I'm going to cover the whole thing with that same cement we used to cover the rest of it. In my top bowl that is going to hold all the water, I'm taking a size 8 drill bit, and I'm going to be drilling a hole right in the center for the water pump pipe. I've just plugged the hole with the nozzle of a caulking gun cap, and I'm putting a bottle cap just over that so that I can get the right distance. And now I'm going to be packing that with the cement. I'm using the cement, and I've made it to be like a bit of a clay consistency, so it's easy to mold. I'm just making it the same dimension as the indentation on the center of the bowl. So that's about the right height that I want. And then I'm going to take some of the other cement, the same one, and then just place it and then level it out to go up the sides so that the side is not straight up, it's got a bit of an angle to it, like that. And just go all the way around. I've done my little dome in the middle, and I've still got the pipe in, and I'll wait for that to dry before I put it on top of the other one. For the next part, I'm going to be using a soft drink can, and all I'm going to be doing is taking a 5mm drill bit, and I'm going to be drilling a hole in the center there for the water pipe, and then I'm going to be cutting it down 2 centimeters and just cutting the top off like that. And we're going to be using that top part. To make the centerpiece for my waterfall, I've got a 2 litre soft drink bottle, and I'm just going to be cutting it in half along that ridge. I've just taken the plastic wrapper that came off the bottle, and I've just cut a little leaflet like that, so that I've got a template for all of them. And I'm taking the top part of the bottle, and all I've done now is I've folded it pretty much in half, just so that I can get some markings on it, and then I folded it again so that I've got like all these little indentations on the side here. And now I'm just going to draw a petal on each of them and cut that out. I've left it a little bit long so that I've got something to tape onto, so I can cut these all out. So I'm going to cut all of them all the way around the bottle. So the bottle looks like that, a bit difficult to see, so I've got all the petals, and now I'm just going to bend them out just a little bit like that. And then I'm going to take a second bottle and do exactly the same thing. So, harder to see. And all the little pieces that are in between, I'm just going to be cutting those off. And the little plastic piece that we cut out, I'm going to be taking some of this plaster wrap bandage, and I'm just going to be cutting small pieces to make little leaves so that they look like that. And I use it in warm water because it works better. Both my pieces are dry now, and now I'm taking some cement, which is very, very liquidy, and all I'm going to be doing is painting it onto each of the little leaves. And just paint all of them. I've done both my pieces, and when they're dry I'll do another 2 coats on them. Both my pieces are dry now, and now I've mixed up some cement that we're going to be joining them together. So I'm going to be closing the hole just so that the cement doesn't go down there, and I'm just going to be putting some toilet paper in there. I've got my little piece all done, and when it's dry I'll be placing the little piece that we made earlier with the hole in it, and that'll go in the center. Both my pieces are dry now, and what I'm going to do is take another piece of the bandage, and I'm going to be securing my little piece in the top. When you're doing this, try and keep this section here completely clean, because that's for the little ball to go on the top. So I've closed the gap with the toilet paper, and now we're going to just place this one on top, and then we're going to pour the cement down the sides to fill that hole. Now just take a wet paintbrush and just smooth it all off and go around the whole thing doing that. My flour is all dry now, and what I've done now is I've mixed up some really thick cement, and I've cut just a spare bottle that I'm going to be putting on the top, because I need to fill this part so that we can attach the flour. So it's a lot easier working when you don't have all the petals sticking out, so that's why I'm using this spare bottle. So I'm just taking chunks of the cement and putting it around and then squishing it into place. Once you've got it in place, just set it aside to dry. I'm using this all-purpose silicone, and this particular one is a clear one. And now I'm just going to be sealing the pipe in over there. I've got my silicone on, and I'm just going to wait for that to dry. I bought my little water pump from Temu as well. It's very, very small, but they do say that it does transport water to the height of 2 meters. But the connection at the top here is a little bit thick for the piping that I'm going to be using. So I've got this tubing, which is 8 millimeters, which I'm going to be cutting a small piece off and putting onto the end like that. And I personally have never used this before, but I'm going to be trying to join the pipes together with this silicone tape. And that to join it to the little 4mm piping that I've got. I've cut 5 centimeters of the thick pipe off, and the thinner one actually goes right down through the bottom. So I'm going to be placing some of this silicone tape around the small pipe to just thicken it a little bit so that it can go in, and then I'll put some more on the top here. I've got everything prepared, so I've got the top and then the base, and now we're going to just thread the piping with the pump through there and then put it into the fish pond. I've got my pipe all the way through and it's been held in place by the peg. I've got it all in, and now I'm just going to fill the pond with water so we can test the pump. We've taken the peg off, and now all you have to do is cut this little pipe flush with the top. Before I put the whole bird bath together, I've put it in the water and I'm going to leave it in there for a week before I start working on it, just so that the water can absorb some of the chemicals. I've had to pull the whole thing apart. It's extremely disappointing, even though it says it can reach 2 meters. That's the little trickle that I'm getting out of it, and if I raise it to even 1 meter, it stops. So not a very good buy I made. I bought myself a new little pump, and this one has got little screw-on connections, and I've got some old piping that I'm going to be using, which comes off the water filtration from the fridges, which the connection fits this particular little piece perfectly. So we can connect that all and check how this pump works. I've threaded the new piping through and up that little water feature, and this is the little connection I'm talking about that comes off the fridge, and this one I'm just going to screw onto the water pump, and then I'm going to start placing rocks all the way around my little pond. I've connected the new pump, and now we're going to give it a try. I don't know whether you can see this one, but this one is super powerful. It goes up at least 1.5 meters as well. So now I'm going to take some balls and see which one works better. So that one is turning quite nicely, but there's a very big spray on it. So I'll try another one. This one is a little bit heavy, so all the water's just going in to the little bird bath. I'm going to try out different size balls to see which one works the best. So I've got a malachite ball and I've just got a fibre optics ball, and I'll see which one's weight is better to just turn on my water fountain. So I've got the fibre optics ball on, and as you can see the water's just shooting everywhere. It's turning a little bit, but not as much as what I want. So we're going to try the other one. And the malachite ball is just a little bit too heavy, so it's not spinning. So I'll have to find another one. I had these really old water lilies that were very, very bad condition, and I just repainted them all, and I'm just going to put those into the pond. I've got them all in the pond now, and I've placed all my rocks around, and just a lot of anthuriums, just to make it look a little bit more attractive. So that's what my little pond area looks like now. And I've just placed a little cherub on the back bird bath. So now my whole area is completed here. I'll be placing my fish in at a later stage, but I'm pretty happy the way that's turned out. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.